Dear Naruto Lemon fans, I'm thrilled to invite all of you to my Boosty channel, where you can enjoy exclusive Naruto Lemon scenes in a comfortable and supportive community. Choose from various subscription tiers, from Mini Lemon to God Lemon, and gain access to unique content tailored just for our fans. Plus, subscribers to over Naruto Lemon and God Lemon will receive special mentions in my videos. Support my channel and dive deeper into the world of Naruto today. Dare! Naruto thrown into a magical world, and is killing it. There was a battle. Not an easy battle, but a battle of beings on the level of gods. It was a confrontation between the leader of Kara Jigen and the 7th Hokage, the unpredictable ninja Naruto Uzumaki. The fight had been going on for quite some time. It was clear that Jigen was winning this battle. Naruto's inner world. Naruto, said the nine-tailed demon fox Kurama. Huh? Naruto asked. We have only one way to defeat him, but the price of this victory will be your life, Kurama said in a very serious tone. Naruto didn't think for long because if he loses then his son Boruto, his best friend Sasuke and his ward Kawaki will die. Tell me Kurama, we have to defeat him. Kurama smirked, not at all surprised by his answer. This is my special mode that will make you much stronger than this Otsutsuki, but it uses your life energy and therefore after this mode ends you will die, also this mode will only last for 5 minutes. Kurama explained what kind of idea he had. Kurama extended his fist, Naruto slapped his fist against his fist with a smile. Real world. Suddenly Naruto's mode changed. He felt a huge power. But he understood that he had little time. Jigen noticed it too. He was shocked by the pressure that seemed to be coming from the almost dead 7th. The fight was exactly the same as in the manga. Unknown where. God wanted to send the man he was watching to another world. He had several worlds in mind, such as a world where magic rules everything, where people participate in different guilds, or a world where angels fought demons. But his decision fell on a world where the highest beings of that world, who call themselves gods, descended. He summoned the soul of a hero from World War IV. It was golden and shone like the summer sun. The ball gradually changed shape. Eventually, the ball turned into a man. Naruto POV. He opened his eyes in surprise, not understanding why he was still alive. So this is the afterlife? Naruto wondered. Something like that, a voice answered his question. Naruto looked up in surprise and saw a man of advanced age. The man looked like an feeble old man, but Naruto felt a strength from him that was incomparable to anything. Are you a god? Or a Shinigami? Yes, I am the supreme god, the old man smiled. I have been watching you since your childhood, and I really liked how you changed your destiny despite everything. Well, my life has come to an end, but everything has its advantages. I can finally live with my parents. Naruto smiled at this prospect. Don't rush, little one, the god laughed at the face Naruto made. Because he hadn't been called a little one for a long time, I decided to send you to another world to watch how you will build your destiny there, the old man smiled. And I have no choice. Naruto already knew the answer. Are you Vanga? God laughed. I don't know what it is, but it was obvious. Naruto laughed too. So where am I going? Oh, this is an interesting world, there are their own gods, and they came down to earth because they were tired of heavenly life. These gods give blessings to people because of this mortals receive unimaginable power, also instead of chakra another type of energy is used there, but I will make it so that you can use chakra, and before I go I will fulfill one of your wishes, for entertaining me for the last 20 years. Send my friend Kurama with me too. Naruto didn't forget about his comrade. I know you'll ask for this, the god smiled good-naturedly. He waved his hand and a portal appeared. Go boy, don't disappoint me. Naruto nodded and jumped into the portal. A carriage was driving along the road, and a driver was sitting on it, an old man of unremarkable appearance. Behind him, a young man with wheat-colored hair was sleeping. On each of his cheeks there were 3 stripes. A few seconds later, the young man opened his eyes. Blood-red eyes with vertical pupils appeared. This young man was Naruto Uzumaki. He looked around not understanding where he was, but suddenly the memory of his conversation with God came into his mind. He saw an old man in front and asked, good afternoon, but who are you and where am I? The old man turned around when he heard the voice. He was surprised when he saw the boy's eyes. I am a resident of a village nearby, and I picked you up when you were lying right on the road and I thought that you needed help, the old man smiled. Thank you, you've been very helpful, but where are we going? Naruto smiled at the old man's kindness. Oh, you don't know where you were? We're going to Ororio, the labyrinth city. Ororio? Naruto didn't know anything about the name. The old man looked at him in shock. You don't know what Ororio is? I seem to have amnesia and I don't remember anything except my name. Naruto quickly got out of it. Well, it's not for nothing that he studied the art of ninja. You still haven't introduced yourself, the old man smiled. Ah yeah, where are my manners? I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto hit his chest and smiled widely. And I'm John, nice to meet you, the old man said his name. Likewise, old man, tell me about this city. Naruto decided to find out where he was heading. This is a big city where there is a dungeon, because of which there is a large concentration of people and demi-humans, so there are many families in which there are adventurers. Demi-humans? Dungeon? Adventurers? Naruto felt stupid, none of this was familiar to him. Oh yeah, you lost your memory. Demi-humans are a race of intelligent beings that have similar traits to humans, but they also have their own characteristics, such as pointed ears or cat ears. The dungeon is a labyrinth in which monsters are located, and those who hunt them are called adventurers. Naruto nodded, processing the information. The most interesting thing in his story seemed to Naruto to be the half-humans. God had already mentioned the rest. He really wanted to see these half-humans. How much longer until Ororio? Naruto asked. Around tomorrow's countdown we'll be there and take a rest by that lake, the old man pointed to the lake which was next to the road. Naruto nodded. They reached the lake and got out. Naruto went to the water and looked at his reflection. He wondered if he had changed. In the reflection, he looked the same as when he was 14, but his eyes were red as blood itself and had vertical pupils. Except for the eyes, nothing has changed. The pupils reminded him of his friend who was inside him. He tried to use chakra. But he realized that he had very little chakra, less than he had back in the academy. This was very disappointing. He concentrated in order to get into his subconscious. When he got there he was surprised. Instead of a sewer there was a meadow with green grass. Looking around he saw a big fox sleeping in the clearing. He walked up to him and smiled slyly. He tugged at his antennae. Kurama jumped in surprise. Looking at his source of irritation, he was shocked. The last memory was of him and Naruto dying. What are you doing, Naruto? And how are we even alive? Kurama said in his low and very loud voice. Naruto smiled and explained the situation to him. That's how things are, flea-bitten rug, the blonde monologist finished his speech. Are you saying that we ended up in another world on the whim of some god? A nod from Naruto. Well, better than death, Kurama sighed. Listen Naruto, you are very weak now, about the same as a normal civilian, and your chakras are at the same level. Naruto nodded with a frown. I hope we can fix this. Well, I will use my chakra to expand your chakra channels and the hearth too. Kurama cheered Naruto up a little. What would I do without you, Kurama? The blonde smiled, like 32 is not the limit. I would have died long ago, said Kurama as if cutting off. Okay, see you later. With these words he came out of his subconscious and fell asleep on the soft grass. Naruto slept well. In the morning he was cheerful. The old man had not yet woken up, and until he woke up Naruto wanted to see how many clones he could create. He folded the seal of concentration. Nothing happened. As expected. With such a quantity of chakra, it is impossible to support the clone. Naruto nodded to himself. Well, until the hearth becomes a little bigger, the techniques are closed to me. An hour later the old man woke up and they set out on the road again. After 5 hours they saw a long wall on the horizon. Naruto whistled. Yeah, it's a lot bigger than the Leaf Village. He smiled at his thoughts. So how do you like it? The old man asked him with a smile on his face. Big, Naruto answered briefly but clearly. Yes, too big, the old man agreed with him. What do you plan to do when you get there? The old man was curious about what this young man wanted to do. I'll find a family and become an adventurer. I don't have much choice so I don't have to choose, although Naruto knew that even if he had a lot of options, he would become an adventurer anyway. Well, how do you imagine that the great ninja who was glorified as a demigod in his world will live an ordinary life? Well, here you go, face with tears of joy. Be careful, often such young people die in the dungeon because of their carelessness. The old man frowned a little because the boy in front of him had only recently reached adolescence. At that age people are very impulsive and because of this they often think without their heads. But Naruto was an adult in the body of a child, and he was too experienced to die on the first floors. Yeah, thank you very much for your concern, old man. Naruto smiled brightly and nodded. When they got to the gates of Orario, there was a large line of people who wanted to enter the city. Some were leaving with downcast faces as they passed the check. Naruto finally saw half-humans in this line. He was shocked. Instead of human ears some had sharp ones and some even had cat or wolf ears. There were also tails. For Naruto this was a new discovery. A few hours later it was their turn. The old man was let through. It seemed he was a frequent guest here. But Naruto was stopped. See you soon, the old man waved and continued on to the city. The guard started asking the usual questions like, what is your purpose in coming, or where are you from and are you in a family? Naruto answered as is. Okay, you've passed. In order to get into the city we need to check whether it's true that you're not part of the family. How will you check? Naruto raised an eyebrow. It's very simple. You need to drip this liquid on your back. The guard showed a small bottle with some red liquid. Naruto nodded and lifted his shirt. The guard's eyes widened. There couldn't be so many scars on the teenager's body, and it was very pumped up, because he looked like a frail guy. They were almost certain that he lied about not being in a family. Naruto was also surprised because he didn't think that the scars from his past life would also be transferred. The guard dripped some liquid on the young man's back. Eventually they learned that he was not part of any family. Why, you can pass. The guard moved away from the road. Naruto nodded and went further into the city. Right at the gates the city was very lively. There were shops with food, things and other things everywhere. Naruto had no money. He only just realized that. He approached one shopkeeper and asked, where is the guild? The shopkeeper looked at him and pointed to the street. Go straight there and the guild is. Naruto nodded, thanks old man. I'm not an old man, I'm only 56. The old man seemed offended by this. Naruto laughed and went where the old man pointed. As he walked further he saw many humans and non-humans. There were also people in armor. They're probably adventurers. Naruto looked at them with a little interest. Many of them were Genin level, mid LVL 1, and it was rare to see Chunin level adventurers, LVL 3. Well, their level of strength is not very good, but their quantity. Yes, they were weak and he had not yet met anyone who was at the level of a Jonin, but their quantity was very surprising. Finally, his eyes fell on a huge building, white and in some places green. He entered it. There were many people here too, and he noticed several people at the level of Jonin, 4th LVL. There were long counters behind which people stood. He approached one of them. Behind the counter stood a girl of about 18 to 20 years old. She had pointy ears, a very beautiful face, and brown hair. She was wearing clothes that were also on the other people behind the counters, but this uniform suited her very well. "How can I help you?" The girl looked up from her papers and adjusted her glasses, looking at him with interest. "I would like to become an adventurer," he said simply with a smile. "Okay." She took some papers from under the table, filled them out, she handed them to him. There were the same questions as at the entrance to the city. He filled them out. Naruto Uzumaki, no family, 14 years old. "I am Ina Tool and from now on I am your advisor." She extended her hand and Naruto shook it. "Yes." Naruto smiled widely. "Where can I get a weapon on credit?" He had no money, but he needed a weapon to go into the dungeon, because he didn't have the strength that he had to do without a sword. And it was in vain that he studied Kenjutsu at the highest level. The guild gives swords to newbies for free. "Then I would like a katana." Naruto looked at her with a smile. "Go to that counter, they'll give it to you there." Ina pointed to one of the counters behind him. Naruto nodded. "And you also need to find yourself a family." "Yeah, I know, I'll look later." Naruto nodded, agreeing with her. "Okay, I'll go." He waved to her and went to the weapon stand. Naruto took his new katana and went to the dungeon. It was not difficult to find it, because the tower above the dungeon was visible even from outside the city. Naruto was already close to the tower that pierces the sky. Many people gathered on the alley in front of the entrance to the dungeon. There were also people with huge backpacks. Naruto became interested in what kind of people they were, but decided to find out later. Entering the tower, he saw a large hole in the center that served as an entrance to the dungeon. Naruto began to descend the steps. Entering the first floor, he simply walked along the corridors. He also noticed that the walls were glowing, which is why there was at least some visibility, but for Naruto, the darkness was not a problem because he saw everything here as if it were daytime, that is, he saw everything in the dark because of his unusual eyes. He tied his new katana to his belt, which was resting in its sheath. It looked ordinary, although not only in appearance. Naruto felt that it could easily break. Walking a little further ahead, he saw one short freak with green skin. He understood from the stories that it was a goblin, a weak monster. Naruto looked at him carefully, and suddenly laughed. "You should have seen the face of this freak." Wiping away the tears that had appeared, Naruto ran towards him. The monster also noticed him and with a squeal of "Kia" ran towards him. The blonde simply swung his katana and the small head separated from the small body. The body immediately disappeared into the haze, leaving behind a purple stone. Naruto walked over and put it in the bag that was given to him along with the katana. I'll have to make storage scrolls." He nodded to his thoughts and wandered on. On the first floor he met a few more goblins, after which he went down to the second floor. There was also a painting there. Further on the third floor there was also the same painting. Already at level 4, monsters began to walk in groups of 3 to 4 individuals. And now, just like that, a group stood in our hero's way. They pounced on him, but Naruto immediately killed the goblin by cutting off his head. He dodged the kobold's blow and hit him in the jaw with his heel, which broke his neck with a loud crunch. And he impaled the next one on his katana. That's how easily he dealt with this group. Naruto killed all the monsters from this floor, which were 23 goblins and 15 kobolds. Naruto decided to conquer the 5th floor and finish for today. On the 5th floor, the groups of monsters increased in number and now there were frog monsters that shot their tongues. For Naruto, they still weren't a problem. Just when Naruto was about to get up, He heard a loud "RROAA." Naruto tensed up his whole body and was about to run when a huge monster 2.5 meters tall came out from around the corner of the corridor he was running into. He had the body of a man and the head of a bull. Naruto didn't know what kind of monster it was, but he understood that he was at the level of a chunin. He understood that it would be very difficult for him to defeat him, perhaps he could even die. But he had nowhere to run, and in this labyrinth it was easy to get lost, which was comparable to death. Naruto pulled out his katana and smiled devilishly. Well, finally I can have some real fun. Naruto grinned devilishly. Well, I'll finally have some normal fun. The Minotaur looked at his smile with fury. It seemed he was irritated by the boldness of the blonde standing opposite him. How could such a bug dare to look at him like that? Was she afraid of death? The Minotaur ran furiously at Naruto. The blonde jumped to the side to avoid being hit by the monster. Naruto quickly pre-grouped. One mistake would cost him his life. He understood that perfectly well. Naruto quickly struck the freak's side with his katana. Naruto was shocked, because the sharp katana didn't even cut him. Of course, he understood that he couldn't hurt him, but he couldn't even cut him. The Minotaur smirked at his opponent's weakness. He enjoyed the despair of his victims, but he realized that the blonde was not despairing at all. This infuriated him. There's no way to cut his skin, and hitting him in the eye won't work either. The blade is too wide. The only option left is to hit him in the ear. Naruto nodded to himself. The monster ran at him again and swung his axe. Naruto dodged with difficulty and tried to do what he had planned. The Minotaur, noticing this, reflected the blow with his horn. Naruto, realizing that he had failed, jumped back. The Minotaur attacked him again with his stone axe. Naruto dodged and hit him in the eye, blinding him in one eye. The Minotaur was furious that such a weak bug could hurt him. The Minotaur had blood pouring out of his eye. The Minotaur quickly ran at the blonde. Naruto didn't have time to dodge, so he decided to take the blow on his blade. The blow threw him against the wall. Naruto quickly strengthened his back with his chakra. The blonde didn't receive much damage from the blow, but his katana was broken. He still decided to retreat, realizing that his chances of winning had decreased to 0, and the only way out of the situation was the corridor that was next to him. Seeing that his victim was running away from him, the Minotaur was pleased and smiled. He chased after him because his strongest desire was to swat this annoying fly. Naruto looked back and saw that the Minotaur was on his tail. He quickly ran around the turns although he knew that he was already lost. Around the next turn he saw a wall. He was in shock. No, of course he wouldn't die here because he still had kurama, which would give him the strength with which he could easily kill this scum. But there would be very dangerous consequences. His chakra circulation would be disrupted and broken. The Minotaur was very happy to see that his victim was cornered. It gave him maniacal pleasure. The poor monster did not understand that his death was behind him. Naruto was about to ask his friend for help, but then a red line appeared on the Minotaur's chest. Suddenly, a fountain of stinking blood poured out on Naruto. Naruto was in shock. As soon as the monster disappeared into the haze, a cute and beautiful blonde appeared behind him. Naruto stared at her in surprise, surprised by her beauty, and she seemed so fragile in appearance. But as they say, appearances are wet, and in fact, she is a very strong adventurer. Naruto also felt from her what he felt from his best friend. It was the flame of revenge. Naruto didn't understand why, but he promised himself that he wouldn't let her hate consume him. "Are you okay?" she asked in a sweet, monotone voice. "Are you okay?" the blonde asked in a sweet, monotonous voice. Naruto blinked a few times and smiled at the fact that he didn't have to hurt himself. "Yes," he replied happily. Naruto stood up and with the help of a water technique that any genin could do, washed the stinking blood off himself. A few seconds later, a half-human werewolf ran into the hall. He had gray hair and a gray tail. "Thank you for saving me." Naruto walked up to the blonde and bowed to her. "No need to thank me, you're the one who's sorry for letting the Minotaur escape from the lower floors. Naruto raised an eyebrow in surprise. Well, the main thing is that no one got hurt. Naruto smiled kindly, it seemed his task would not be so difficult. I am Naruto Uzumaki. The blonde shook her head and introduced herself as, I'm Ice Wallenstein. I'll remember that name. Naruto scratched his chin. Hey, stop ignoring me, the werewolf shouted angrily. And who are you? Naruto asked stupidly. You don't know who I am? The werewolf was a little surprised. Should I? I am Bet Loga, the werewolf introduced himself. And I'm Naruto. Naruto extended his hand. Bet shook it. He felt the strength from the blonde, he was different from the other weaklings so he could be remembered. Okay, I have to go back to the surface. Naruto waved his hand and walked towards the exit of the floor. Wait, what family are you from? Ace asked. I don't have a family. Naruto scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Both members of Loki's family's eyes widened. How could a man without a Falna hold out against a Minotaur for so long? You're not lying? Bet asked, somewhat irritated. What's the point of me lying? Naruto raised his eyebrow. Then join us. Ace decided to invite him, she didn't know what attracted her to him so much, but she was drawn to the red-eyed blonde. Is your family big? Naruto was curious. Yes, a big one. Bet said this because he was sure that he would accept their offer, even if there were problems with the rest of the family. He, like Ace, wanted him to join them. The blonde man emanated the aura of alpha. Then I'll have to refuse this offer. Naruto felt awkward refusing after being saved, but he didn't like being bossed around. Ace and Bet were shocked, no one refused such an offer, because even 3 levels find it difficult to join their family. Why? Ace asked emotionlessly, but despite her voice Naruto saw surprise deep in her eyes. I don't like it when someone commands me. Naruto explained this simple reason and said goodbye to them and left. POV Family Loki. Ace and Bet approached their family's camp after finishing off the last Minotaur. Oh, Ace is back. One cute Amazon shouted happily. Don't shout, Tiona, calmly said another Amazon who was an exact copy of the first except for her large breasts. Come on Tioni, Tiona said, pouting. Why are you so late there? The blonde Palom asked in a businesslike tone. We met an interesting adventurer there who was being chased by a Minotaur, Bet replied. Interesting? Did our wolf cub really say interesting? Tiona said in surprise. Shut up. Bet said in anger. Is he okay? Asked Palom. There were no wounds on him, Finn, Ace answered shortly. So what were you talking about? Finn couldn't help but ask. I invited him into our family, she said bluntly. What? Why did he run from the Minotaur on the first level? Finn was surprised by this. No, he's not level 1, he doesn't have a fake. Finn was amazed by this, how could a person survive in this situation? End POV. Naruto entered from the dungeon. He was glad to meet new people. A beautiful girl and a werewolf. Naruto was a little dissipated by his luck. He was going to go to the guild to exchange crystals, he needed something to live on. Smiling to himself, Naruto headed towards the guild. When Naruto was walking he was talking to Kurama. Naruto, you need to be more careful and join some family. Today you almost decided to give yourself the opportunity to use your chakra, Kurama reproached the blonde. Come on, little fox, think about it, I almost died, for us it's a common thing. Well, Kurama couldn't help but agree. Still, there's no need to waste a second life. Kurama still wasn't happy. What are you going to do? Kurama suddenly asked in a serious tone. Huh? What do you mean? Naruto was a little surprised. Literally, what are you going to do in this life? what is your goal? I thought about it a lot. Last time I didn't complete my debt to my family name, and I wanted to blame it on Boruto, but in this world I will revive the clan of red-haired demons. The Uzumaki clan. Kurama was very surprised, because he didn't think that Naruto would take it so seriously. Well, not such a stupid dream as becoming Hokage. At the last word the fox laughed at the irritation of his host. This is not a stupid dream, you shaggy rug. Naruto was outraged by this. And Kurama didn't even think about stopping laughing. You. Naruto cut off the connection with the fox. The blonde finally reached his destination. The guild seemed great no matter how much he looked at it. Once inside, he immediately went to the exchange counter. After he exchanged the stones, he would talk to Ina and go look for a place to spend the night. He poured all the stones to the exchanger and received 20,000 valis for it. Naruto did not know whether it was a lot or not. He glanced around the large hall in search of his advisor. A cute elf was standing next to the counter and reading some papers. Naruto walked towards her. Hello Ina. He waved at her and walked towards her. Oh, hello Naruto, how was your first day? Did you like it? Ina smiled at him. Yes, very much so. It would have been perfect if it weren't for the bull man who almost slapped me. Naruto said this as if it were something ordinary. You're kidding me. A bull is a man, like a human body and a bull's head? Ina was horrified by her assumption. Yes, how did you know? Naruto tilted his head to the side. You met the Minotaur, are you okay? How are you saved? Ina was shocked. Well, I fought him until my katana broke. To prove his words, he showed the hilt of the katana, which had no blade, and then Ace Wallenstein saved me. You're incredibly lucky. The elf was of course surprised that a man without a fake was fighting a level 2 monster, but the joy of being saved was much greater. Yes, and by the way, tell me about Ace and her family. Ace Wallenstein is a level 5 adventurer, one of the leaders of the large Loki family. She also has the nickname of the Blade Princess or the War Princess. She seems famous. Naruto nodded with a thoughtful face. Suddenly, a girl of about 14 years old ran into the guild, with black hair in 2 ponytails. Hers were blue as the ocean itself. Ina Bella hasn't come back here? She asked worriedly. No, the elf was also surprised. Then with each second came the horror of understanding that her ward could die. She said that she would go down to the 5th floor today. We need to send out a search party, the girl said with tears in her eyes. I'll find her, Naruto suddenly said. The girl turned to him and looked with her bottomless eyes into his blood-red eyes. Find her and I, Goddess Hestia, will be in your debt. Naruto was surprised. Of course he felt that something was wrong with this girl, but a goddess? Okay, with these words he rushed towards the exit of the guild. Today was a normal day as always, wake up at 5 a.m. and spend the rest of the day in the dungeon. Bella decided today that she is strong enough to go to the 5th floor. At first she managed easily. This floor differed from the 4th only in quantity. While on the 4th floor there were 3 to 4 goblins in one group, now there are only a maximum of 5 to 6. So Bella did not expose herself to great danger by going down here. It was just Ina exaggerating everything. Bella nodded, smiling to her thoughts. She was very glad that they were taking such good care of her. Bella had just dealt with a group of kobolds and goblins, although now there was one frog with them. Bella walked on. Suddenly she heard a crack behind her. She quickly took out her dagger. Kobolds and goblin with frog archers were pouring out of the walls. But not this, and not a large number. She was surprised by the little one who was flying, pouring some kind of pollen from himself. She realized that it must be poison. Bella realized that she could escape because the monsters surrounded her. There were about 20 to 30 monsters there. Bella was very scared, but she didn't want to die like that. She decided that she would survive and see her goddess again, and plus she hadn't tasted love yet. Here Bell isn't as shy as Orange, sorry but sometimes his innocence pisses me off. She suffered for about 10 minutes until she realized that a kobold was about to attack her from behind and she didn't have time to dodge. But then the kobold's neck cracked. Bella was surprised by this. As soon as the kobold disappeared behind him, she saw a guy with wheat-colored hair. He had 3 stripes on his cheeks, but that wasn't what surprised her, his eyes. His eyes were red just like hers, but instead of the usual pupils, he had vertical ones. He looked very much like a fox. He was wearing orange clothes with black lines, like in origami after he returned from his training with Jiraiya. "Give me your dagger," he said in a very calm voice, as if they were not surrounded. Bella did not know why, but she gave him the dagger in an instant. But hearing his voice and seeing his captivating eyes, her heart sank. Bella was shocked. A few minutes later on the battlefield stood a lone blonde surrounded by a pile of stones. She was absorbed in his battle, no, not so much his dance. He cut the monsters, but it was not rough. He moved gracefully as if he was dancing. Unlike other adventurers who just cut the monsters, the blonde cut their necks. Naruto ran into the dungeon like crazy. No matter how much he matured, he did not lose the habit of helping everyone and everything, which Naruto was only glad about. He carried on the floors not paying any attention to the monsters. He ran to the 5th floor. After several turns he saw a large group of monsters. And in the very center of the group there was one white-haired beauty. She had eyes as scarlet as the ruby itself. Naruto did not have time to enjoy the beauty of the girl, because her life was threatened by the kobold behind her. Naruto dashed through the monsters and quickly snapped the neck of an unsuspecting kobold. "Give me the knife," he said in a calm voice so as not to scare the poor thing. Naruto was very surprised when the girl gave him the knife without thinking. But it was even better this way. Naruto rushed at the monsters with a smile. After 5 to 6 minutes, he had already handed over the prides to all the monsters. It wasn't difficult. Turning to the girl, he was very surprised when he saw that she was looking at him blushing. Naruto was reminded of how his Hinata blushed when she looked at him as a child. Naruto smiled brightly at the shy girl. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked in a soft tone. The girl blushed even more and nodded. "What's your name, beauty?" The blonde smirked. He didn't know why, but he already liked teasing the platinum blonde. "Be Bella." "Bella Cranel," the girl answered very shyly. "And I'm Naruto Uzumaki, nice to meet such a cute girl like you." Naruto wasn't lying about this. He really liked the girl in front of him, both for her behavior and her beauty. After the fight he finally looked at her. She had plump scarlet lips, cute big red eyes, and most importantly plump cute cheeks. Sorry, the author is just crazy about cheeks. Face with tears of joy, red heart. Naruto extended his hand to her. It was obvious that steam was already coming out of the girl's ears, but she still shook the hand of her new acquaintance. "Let's go there. Ina and your goddess can't find a place for themselves." Bella was surprised. That's why he didn't have a dagger. It looks like he ran here in a hurry to save her. This made the cutie's stomach swirl with butterflies. Bella nodded and they went to the exit of the floor. Then they walked the whole way in silence. Bella was embarrassed to start a conversation, and Naruto just didn't want to embarrass the poor girl even more. People passing by them smiled. From the outside they looked like a cute couple. And how else, a cute blushing girl and a cheerfully smiling guy, you don't see that often. But they were very wrong about that, because the couple had only met half an hour ago. Face with tears of joy. It was already getting dark outside. But right at the entrance to the guild stood 2 girls, one an elf, the other short but with great dignity. As soon as the miniature goddess saw them, she jumped on the poor girl with tears, who blushed even more from this. Naruto was glad to see this close relationship. It was clear that the goddess valued her child very much. She finally looked at him. "Thank you very much." The goddess bowed. Naruto was shocked. "No, don't bow, you shouldn't worship, you are a goddess after all, and I'm glad to save a girl in a dungeon, just like in the fairy tales that are told to children here." Naruto smiled heartily at the goddess. Hestia nodded to him. Name your god or goddess so I can personally thank them. Naruto smiled at her. I don't have a god, so your gratitude is enough for me. Naruto laughed. What? You're not in the family? You don't want to join my family? She asked hopefully. And how many people are in your family? Naruto was curious. Oh, one, but this is just the beg. She couldn't finish as the blonde interrupted her. Perfect. Naruto truly thought it was perfect. What? Why? The brunette was very surprised by this reaction. Well, I don't like it when someone orders me around. Naruto laughed awkwardly, even he understood that this was a stupid reason. That's even better, the goddess said happily. She wouldn't have believed him if she couldn't tell if a mortal was lying, but the man had never lied to her before. The red-eyed man laughed kindly at the naivety of the miniature goddess. Well, what did he not know that she could recognize when a person was lying? Well, in a word, these two considered each other naive, although both were wrong. While they were discussing their terms, Aina scolded her ward, not out of anger, but simply because she cared about her very much. How many times have I told you not to overdo it in your search for adventure? Do you even know how worried I was? But let's leave it at that. Are you okay? Yes. She answered briefly and suddenly blushed. Can you tell me about him? She pointed with her gaze at the laughing Naruto. Aina first made a stupid face, and then suddenly smirked. She realized that Bella had fallen in love with him. Naruto Uzumaki, not a member of any family, began his journey as an adventurer today. Bella was happy, surprised and sad at the same time. Happy because she could stand next to him and there was no huge gap between them. Surprised that a man without falsehood could fight so well, and sad because it hurt her pride so much, because she has been an adventurer for 2 weeks now. Seeing her state, Aina smiled and reassured her, don't think about it too much, he probably trained a lot before becoming an adventurer. Bella suddenly beamed. Aina laughed at how quickly the girl's mood changed. She was so open and kind. Naruto, Hestia, and Bella said goodbye to Aina and went to where Bella and the goddess lived. After a while they left the main road and went into the alleys. Naruto followed them with interest. A couple of minutes later they came out of the alleys and walked towards the ruins. There was a lonely, half-ruined church. Naruto was surprised when they entered there. In the basement there was a room with a bed and a sofa. Although this place looked poor, it seemed so cozy, so Naruto even liked it. Hestia and Bella seemed a little embarrassed by their poverty. Great place, the blonde nodded with a smile. To say that the girls were surprised would be an understatement. How could someone like such a place? Well, Naruto lived in a worse place than this. Hestia nodded. Take off your shirt and lie down on the bed with your stomach forward. Naruto nodded and lay down on the bed with his back exposed. Bulla and Hestia were very surprised when they saw his manly body, although he looked like he was only 14. Hestia sat on his back and began to shamanize. It will hurt a little, be patient, Naruto nodded to her. Different emotions flashed across the goddess's face all the time, but shock stood out the most. She placed the paper on his back and the symbols themselves appeared on the paper. Naruto Uzumaki. Race: human. Age: 14. LV: 1. Strength: I0. Agility: L0. Speed: L0. Chakra: L0. Endurance. Skills: Magic. Fox mode, possibly evolution. Shadow clone. Seals. A living phrase. Liari freeze. The speed of development depends on the emotion. Bella got it because of Ace, and Naruto will have it because of the desire to protect his friends, so that later in the comments they don't say that Naruto can't have it. So that's his status, Naruto nodded to himself. Why do you have chakra instead of magic? She thought that Naruto should know what it was, because she herself knew nothing about it. HM? Oh, this? This is a special energy that only my clan has. What kind of clan is this? Hestia had never heard of such a thing before. Well, a clan that was cut out long ago and lived in hiding from everyone. Actually, I came to this city to revive it. Naruto smiled at his goddess. Well, you're a special person, not everyone has 3 skills and a living phrase from the very beginning. Naruto nodded. So Bella, let's update yours too. Naruto left so as not to embarrass the girl. Hestia was surprised when she saw that Bella had exactly the same animated phrase. From the story that was written in her status, the goddess understood that Naruto was the reason for this phenomenon, and it seemed that the girl was in love with him. Bella Cranel. Race, human. Age, 14. LV, 1. Strength, L60, L89. Speed, L99, H135. Dexterity, H101-141. Mag L0, L0. Endurance, L63, L98. Skills. A living phrase. Liary freeze. Bella was surprised by her jump. It was a sharp increase in characteristics. Naruto smiled when he saw his new friend's shining face. It looks like she leveled up well. Well, today everyone had a hard day and everyone can go to bed. Having said this, Naruto jumped on the couch. Bella looked at the couch with great desire. It seemed she wanted to lie down on the couch, but Naruto had already taken the place, and in fact Bella wanted to lie down in the arms of the blonde. The platinum blonde slapped her hands on her face so that such thoughts would not disturb her. Hestia and Bella lay down on the bed next to each other. Naruto got excited looking at them. A good picture opened up from his position. The blonde sharply slapped himself in the face. What kind of thoughts were creeping into his head? Naruto realized he was going through puberty again. Well, in short, it was. Naruto lay down trying to fall asleep, but he fell asleep oh so slowly. Early in the morning Naruto woke up. He felt some kind of heaviness on his chest. Finally, when his vision became normal, he saw white hair right under his nose. It smelled nice. Naruto blushed terribly. Well, imagine a 35-year-old man blushing because of a teenager on his chest. It looks like riot police will arrive there soon, but that's a story for another time. Face with tears of joy. Ahem, where were we? Oh yeah, the blonde's pants suddenly became tight. He was in his thoughts. He screamed, "Lie down, you!" But no one listened to him. Suddenly the girl began to wake up. Naruto was scared. She opened her eyes and also blushed when she saw the beautiful face of her new friend in front of her. Suddenly she felt something hard pressing against her groin. At first she didn't understand what it was, but then she understood. She became redder than she had been before. With unprecedented speed she jumped away from him and went to the bathroom in an eerie and awkward silence. Naruto was already burning with shame. He didn't want his new acquaintance to consider him a pervert. As soon as Bella came out, Naruto said, "Sorry Bella, it was an accident, I'm in a trance." Before he could finish speaking, the blonde interrupted him. "Yes, it's my own fault." She still blushed as she put on her coat. Hestia was still dozing. Naruto fell asleep in his clothes, so he was ready to go. They left the house together and walked towards the city. They were walking down the main street and Naruto suddenly noticed someone's gaze on his back. He felt a threat that he only felt from Madara and Kagaya. He turned around sharply and was ready to hit the one who was standing behind him, but stopped when he saw a gray-haired girl. She was scared and moved back a little. Naruto bowed to her in apology. "Sorry, I didn't mean to, it was a reflex." "It's okay, it's my own fault for approaching you from behind," the girl smiled awkwardly. Naruto nodded to her without denying it. "Well, why deny the truth?" The girl extended her hand and showed a stone in it. "You dropped it yesterday while passing by." Naruto was surprised, because he thought he had given everything away. But he still nodded and took the stone. "You're going to the dungeon so early, you must be hungry," the girl said with a sweet smile. "No," Naruto replied, he really wasn't hungry. But her companion's belly betrayed her. Naruto smiled at this. It looked so cute when Bella blushed. He would soon be addicted to this. The gray-haired girl chuckled quietly and ran into the pub behind her. "Wait." Naruto decided to wait. She quickly ran over and gave Bella the box. "Here, take it, you look really hungry." Bella waved her hands. "No, you shouldn't, you probably prepared it for yourself." "No problem, take it, I'll eat when the pub opens." Bella, very embarrassed, took the box and thanked her. "And in exchange, you'll have dinner here tonight." Naruto understood her plan. What a sly ass. Naruto smiled. "Of course, wait for us today." The gray-haired girl nodded and they went further towards the guild. Having reached this point, they immediately went to their advisor. They told her that they were in the same party, and went into the dungeon. Naruto wanted the girl to practice a little in the labyrinth, so he let her kill most of the monsters, and he stood as backup. Bella realized that she should not worry because Naruto was ready to save her at any moment. The blonde was surprised at how quickly Bella adapted. By the end of the day they finally came out of the dungeon. They exchanged crystals and went towards their home. They also wanted to take the goddess with them to have dinner. "Hestia, are you coming with us to the pub for dinner?" The goddess wanted to agree, but then she saw Bella's pleading eyes. Hestia understood what she wanted. Hestia, of course, wanted to eat, but she didn't want to interfere with the blonde. "No, I have to go to the corporation at work today." "Well, then we'll bring you something from there so you can eat after your corporation." Hestia nodded and threw some kind of cloak over herself. She left the house and went in the direction of the city. Naruto and Bell washed themselves and also went towards the city. After a while they stood in front of the pub. As she ran past, Sir caught sight of the couple out of the corner of her eye. Smiling, she went to invite them inside. "Come in, what are you standing outside for?" Sir smiled. Of course, saying that they entered the pub. There were a lot of adventurers here. Naruto smiled, feeling the atmosphere of this place. He was glad that he came here. He and Bella sat down at a small table for two. They ordered lunch for themselves, and just talked while sitting there waiting for their order. Sir sat down next to them. "Don't you have to go to work?" Bella asked, a little irritated. It seemed like she was irritating her for some reason. Naruto didn't know why. "Mamma Mia gave me a break," she answered as if nothing had happened. Naruto nodded. He was only glad about this, the more the better. "This work is like a hobby for me. There are so many different people here, and I really enjoy watching them, listening to their stories." Naruto nodded with a smile. Everyone has their own cockroaches. For example, he has a cockroach named Kurama, one with 9 boasts and such a harmful one. In the subconscious, Kurama sneezed. Then they ate their meals in silence when suddenly there was some noise at the front door. Naruto was wondering what was going on there. Looking there, he saw a small group of people, in front of whom was a red-haired girl. Naruto realized that she was a goddess by her aura. "Regular customers, Naya," said the cat girl at the entrance. A little later, the blonde saw his acquaintances from yesterday. Among the new arrivals were Ace and Bet. The group sat down in the center of the room. Naruto decided to greet Ace and Bet. He stood up. Out of the corner of his eye he saw the surprised Bell and Sir. Despite all the surprise, his companion stood up and followed him. Naruto smiled at this. "Hello Bet, Ace." The conversations at the table stopped. They were wondering who was speaking so familiarly to the leaders of the Loki family. "Oh, hello," the blonde said without emotion, but with a hint of surprise. "Where did you come from?" There was more clear surprise in Bet's voice. He did not expect to meet his new friend so soon. He had already decided to be friends with him, because he felt that he had a great future. "Aya, just decided to have dinner with a member of my family. Naruto smiled and pointed at his cute companion. Bet was surprised that he found his family so quickly. He wanted to say something, but he was interrupted. Would you like to introduce us? The yellow-haired Palum asked calmly. Oh, yes, of course. This is our family's Captain Finn Daimyo, this old elf Reveria, the other elf Lafia, those two Amazon twins Tiona and Tioni. That dwarf Gareth casually introduced his family to Beta. Naruto was surprised when he called that very beautiful elf old, and this is the seeker we met on the 5th floor, Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet you, Naruto said. Likewise, Finn said calmly. As soon as Reveria saw this boy, she immediately became interested in him, because instead of magic, he had some other energy, she felt it. She will definitely find out from him in the future what kind of energy it is. What family did you join? The Sword Princess asked calmly. To the Hestia family. What? To this brat's family. The drunk goddess, who had been silent until then, shouted in shock. Yeah, Naruto laughed at that remark. Come sit with us, it's more fun together, Tiona said to the paddle. Naruto was only happy about this, of course. Saying this, he took 2 chairs for himself and Bella and they sat down at the table of one of the strongest families in Orario. Finn wanted to talk to Naruto in person to get to know him for sure, and not from stories from others. Tell me about yourself, Naruto. Why did you come to Orario? Do you have a purpose here? Finn decided to see what he would answer to this. I'm an ordinary person, and my goal here is to restore my clan. Naruto just smiled. He realized that his interlocutor was probably testing him. A normal person can't resist a minotaur for almost half an hour, and instead of magic, you have a different energy, Reveria said in a calm voice. Naruto smiled. It seems she has a good sense of magic, since she noticed it. I trained before I came to Orario. I have a different energy, because this is a feature of my clan, Naruto answered with a smile, not a bit worried. You lied in the first part of your answer. Naruto was surprised when the red-haired girl noticed his lie. He of course trained in the past world, but in this world everything started from scratch. The blonde was irritated, which does not happen often, because it seems the gods have a way to find out if a person is lying. There was no other way she could recognize his lie. He is a mother of his former ninja, and not just a ninja, but the Hokage himself. Finn, Reveria, and Gareth didn't notice the irritation that appeared for a moment on the red-eyed blonde's face. They realized that he didn't like being found out. Naruto quickly corrected himself. Well, everyone has their own skeletons, Naruto answered with a smile. I don't have to answer all your questions, he answered without a smile and with a serious voice, thereby making it clear that further questions were not welcome. You're right, everyone has their own skeletons. Finn didn't like the fact that his interlocutor lied, but it seemed that he also had negotiation skills. He was becoming more and more dangerous. It was necessary to find out if he was an enemy or a friend. How are you staying in our lovely city? Finn asked with a smile. He also has conversation skills. Oh, the city itself is very beautiful and lively. I liked it, but the dungeon. It's a masterpiece. I haven't had such adventures for a long time. It seemed to everyone that he spoke as if he had not found a worthy opponent for a long time. Which surprised them, because in front of them sat only the first level. Well, how were they supposed to know that in front of them sat a man who in his past life was called a demigod, the strongest man in the world on par with his best friend Sasuke? Well, how do you spend your time in the dungeon? Naruto, you were really interested in what one of the strongest families in Orario does in the dungeon. Oh, it's much more interesting and fun here than on the upper floors. Our monsters are more unique and strong, and imagine that we open new floors by doing expeditions, Taiyan answered the blonde's question cheerfully. Naruto nodded. I hope I get there soon too. Everyone laughed at him. Naruto was annoyed. What's so funny? Ha ha ha, you're funny, you're still far from us, Bet answered laughing. Let's see what you'll say in 6 months. Naruto was already seriously irritated. After his words, everyone in the pub laughed even harder. Naruto was already at his limit, it seems his age has a stronger effect on him. Without saying another word, he stood up and only made it clear with his eyes to Bella that they were leaving. As he passed the counter, he threw in some money and left with Bella. "What's wrong with him?" Ace asked in surprise. Everyone knew that she didn't understand the atmosphere very well. "So how do you like him, Finn?" Gareth asked. "Interesting guy," he answered seriously. "Yes, very interesting," the green-haired elf said thoughtfully. The other two family leaders were surprised. It had been a long time since Reveria had been interested in someone. Naruto left the pub and walked towards home. He noticed that Bella was worried about him. "Hey, don't worry," Naruto laughed when the girl looked at him in surprise. "It's all the hormones dancing the licking dance." The blonde laughed at his own joke. Bella smiled and nodded. "I hope you won't have problems with them." The blonde started to worry again. "No, it will ruin their reputation if they take revenge for this." Naruto calmed the poor thing down. Naruto was very happy to understand that the girl cares about him very much, although they have only known each other for a couple of days. The blonde promised himself that he would protect her even at the cost of his life. She entered his heart as a good friend, and we know what kind of heart Naruto has. Bella calmed down when she realized this. There was no reason for a family like Loki to expose themselves to such a thing. Naruto remembered that he promised to buy Hestia something. He hit himself in the face. The blonde was surprised by his actions. "What's happened?" "I forgot to buy Hestia dinner." "Let's go, there's a shop nearby that's open 24 hours. Bella was happy to help him with this. Naruto smiled at her. "Thank you, what would I do without you?" He stroked her head. Sarada seemed to like it, and she should like it too. Bella quickly blushed. She didn't expect it, but was glad for such close contact. They bought potatoes which, according to Bella, Hestia really liked. And went home. On their way home they gave their dinner to their goddess and let her have dinner before updating their statuses. Soon she finished and Naruto lay down on the bed taking off his shirt. Hestia sat on him and began to draw something on his back. Naruto Uzumaki. Race, human. Age, 14. Level, 1. Strength, I0, L10. Dexterity, L0-10. Speed, L0-15. Chakra, L0-5. Endurance. Skills, Magic. Fox Mode, possibly Evolution. Shadow Clone. Seals. A living phrase. Liari Freeze, the speed of development depends on the emotion. Hestia got up from him. It seems that nothing unusual happened to him today since his status didn't change that much. Naruto came out to let Hestia and Bella update their status. A couple of minutes later he heard a scream from the room. He thought that something had happened so he quickly entered the house. He was surprised when he saw Bella with a naked top on which there was only a bra and Hestia with shocked eyes. Bella blushed terribly and threw a pillow at Naruto. Naruto quickly left the room realizing the situation. "You may come in," he heard the voice of the goddess. Upon entering, he immediately bowed and apologized to Bella, and she accepted his apology with a nod, because she understood that he was not really to blame for what happened. "Why were you screaming like you were being cut?" Naruto couldn't help but ask. "Look here." She handed him a piece of paper. Bella Cranel. Race, human. Age, 14. LV, 1. Strength, L89, H120. Speed, H135, H190. Dexterity, H141, G215. Mag L0, L0. Endurance, L98, H160. Skills. A living phrase. "Wow, well done Bella, you've leveled up well," the blonde praised his partner. "It's all because you let me kill all the monsters." Bella smiled at him. Hestia thought about how much the girl's feelings had developed in a couple of days, although it seemed that she herself did not yet understand this. Hestia laughed at this situation. Then they went to bed. Naruto woke up today without a weight on his chest, which he was glad about. He noticed that the room smelled of something delicious. It was Bella who was cooking in the kitchen. She cooked scrambled eggs and they didn't have any other product. Naruto went and sat down at the chair. Bella noticed his presence. "Good morning," she said with a smile. "Good," he would answer her with a smile. Bella put 2 plates on the table and sat down on a chair herself. They began to eat in silence. Naruto was thinking about how he needed to buy himself a katana. He had broken the last one. "Bella, where can I buy myself a new weapon?" he asked her, remembering that she knew where the food shop for the goddess was. From this he decided that she was somewhat familiar with the city. Well, you can buy it right in the Tower of Babel. Bella answered thoughtfully. Well, before we go there, let's buy some for both of us. Naruto was dispelled by Bella's surprised face. Naruto thought about this yesterday. Yes, on the initial floors, when the monsters are not so big, a dagger will do, but if the same minotaur is aiming for her. Oh, how difficult it will be. But I don't know how to use it. I'll teach you. Bella nodded decisively after hearing this. She was only glad to spend more time with her idol. As soon as they finished their breakfast, they went to the dungeon, deciding not to go to the guild today. They didn't have much time anyway because of buying katanas. Naruto deliberately walked around yesterday's pub. He didn't like that platinum blonde from that pub. He felt some kind of threat from her. Well, as they say, to be on the safe side. Having reached the tower, they immediately went to the floor where they sell cheaper than on the floors below. They bought 2 seemingly ordinary katanas for 10,000. Naruto still had 30,000 valis left. He looked at Bella and thought, she was missing something. He thought for a while, and under his gaze the poor thing blushed. And then it dawned on him that she only had a breastplate on her. They went to the armor shop and started looking. Naruto found a nice light armor. It was all white with a red line. There were 2 pairs, a male and a female. The blonde was happy with such luck. He looked at the initial on the bib and saw, Welf Croso. They went to the seller and paid them 15,000 valis. They put them on right away in the store. Naruto felt the ease and quality of the work. He remembered their initial. They went down to the first floor to the entrance to the dungeon. They were surprised when they saw a large crowd of people at the entrance. "What's wrong?" Naruto asked. Bella shrugged. Naruto asked one of the passers-by and found out that preparations were underway for the Monstrophilia festival. Unfortunately, the plot ended here. However, my friend and I will continue the plot as we see it, lol. Glory to Anirab. Ha ha ha. Let's continue ourselves. They were already walking through the deserted streets of Ororio. Night had fallen on the city, leaving the rare lanterns as their only source of light. Naruto walked with his hands in his pockets, silently. Bella was next to him, slightly behind. "Hey," she finally said. "You're not really upset with them, are you?" Naruto smirked at the corner of his lips. "Nope. I just remembered how in my previous life, no one took me seriously at first either. And then, well, you know." He looked up at the sky. "It's funny. 2 days have passed, and I already want to prove myself again." Bella looked at him with warmth. "You've already proven it. To me, at least." Naruto looked at her. Her eyes, scarlet like his, glowed in the darkness. He blushed slightly. "Thank you, Bella. It sounds silly, but it means a lot." The next day they went underground again. Only now to the 6th floor. "If there's something you can't handle, scream, okay?" Naruto said, checking out his new katana. "Got it." Bella answered cheerfully and made victory fingers. Naruto chuckled, "Ah, you're contagious." They descended. The monsters were more aggressive. Faster. But Bella held on, she could already predict their attacks. The kobolds did not even have time to jump, she pierced them through and through. "Good!" Naruto shouted. "Your agility is now up to par, you're holding up like a jonin on an exam." "Jonin?" Bella bowed her head. "Ah, long story. I'll tell you later." He laughed again. By lunchtime, they had found temporary shelter in one of the side caves. Naruto had lit a mini fire with a fire technique. It was barely enough chakra, but it was enough. Bella had gotten out the supplies. "Listen," she suddenly said, "why did you choose Hestia's family?" "Well, besides the fact that she was the only one in the family." Naruto thought for a moment. Then he answered honestly. "Because there was no self-interest in her eyes. I've been in many places, Bella. And too often I've seen how people stick to the strong for the sake of profit. She is different." Bella nodded, her cheeks turning pink. "And I am glad that you are with us." After lunch, they went deeper. On the 7th floor, the monsters were of a different type, fast, but lightly armored. Bella had a problem, her dagger got stuck in the thick skin. Naruto took the initiative. His new katana was surprisingly strong, apparently Welf made it for a reason. He cut the monsters precisely, quickly, and with economy of strength. His movements were precise, like those of a shinobi. "You," Bella said suddenly. "You dance when you fight." Naruto chuckled. "Hidden leaf technique. I'm not just from the street." She smiled. Her heart began to beat faster again. They reached the 8th floor. The monsters were more serious. The first fire elementals appeared. Naruto was running out of chakra. He froze, breathing heavily, leaning against the wall. "Bella. You'll have to take on the fight. I'll support you, if necessary." "Understood." She did it. Slowly, carefully, as Naruto had taught her. But at one point she stumbled. The fire elemental threw a cloud of flame right at her, and at that moment Naruto stood between her and the attack. The flames hit him in the chest. He was thrown against the wall. "Naruto!" Bella screamed, rushing towards him. He smiled despite the burn. "Everything is fine. I promise to back you up." Bella began to cry. But not from pain. From fear. "Please, don't do that again." Naruto pressed his palm to her cheek. "Then become stronger faster. So that I can trust you not only with my life, but also with my heart." She turned as red as a tomato. What are you saying, idiot?" They both laughed, tears still in Bella's eyes. When they got home, Hestia was already waiting with dinner. She saw the bandages on Naruto's chest and said nothing, only patted his head. "Were you a stupid hero today?" she asked. "A little." He shrugged. "But Bella was great." The goddess looked at her girl. She nodded, a little embarrassed. "That's good," Hestia said. "Because tomorrow we're going to Monstrophilia." "What?" they both asked at the same time. Hestia smiled mysteriously. "And I have plans for you." The next day started out too ordinary. But not for Naruto. He woke up abruptly, like a shinobi, from a light touch on his face. Bella. Sleepy, with disheveled hair, she was muttering something, turning over on her other side and putting her hand on his cheek. Apparently, in her sleep, she was still hugging him. Naruto didn't move. His chest was pulsating for some reason. Maybe from her breath on his skin. Age. Seriously. "I'm 35 in my head, but my body wants blood and love again," he sighed mentally. Carefully, with an almost invisible movement, he crawled to the edge of the sofa, covering Bella with a blanket. She didn't even wake up, she was quietly snoring, hiding her nose in the pillow. And only when he was already leaving the room, her lips moved. Naruto-kun. He froze. His heart skipped a beat. Aha. That's it. Here we are, he chuckled quietly. Later, morning. They went to the weapons shop to look at new blades. Bella kept sneaking glances at him. And he pretended not to notice. Although he did. He noticed everything, the way she looked away shyly, the way her fingers tightened on the hilt of her sword, the way her lips pursed when he came closer. Bella, he said suddenly, when they were standing in front of the counter with armor, your helmet fits strangely. What? She grabbed her head. He came up and adjusted the strap with 2 fingers. And at that moment their faces were centimeters apart. She swallowed. He did too. But he didn't back down. Hey, he said in a whisper. Will you tell me if I'm doing something wrong? And no, she whispered, her breath catching. Naruto placed his palm on her cheek, lightly stroking it with his thumb. She blushed to her ears. But she didn't pull away. What are you doing, Uzumaki? He cursed to himself, but did not stop. You are very beautiful, he said. And I see it more and more often. She leaned forward slightly. And he did too. Their foreheads touched, their breath became one. And then. Ahem. The seller coughed sharply. Young people, we have a decent place here. Naruto and Bella recoiled as if scalded. She covered her mouth with her hands, he chuckled and apologized. That's it, let's go, otherwise the armor will turn red from embarrassment. In the evening. They were home again. Hestia had gone to a meeting of the gods, some important matters, as she said. Bella was nervous. Naruto, too. And now the moment has come. We have a bathtub, she said suddenly. But, there's only one barrel. And, if you want, you can go first. Naruto nodded. Do you want, together, and here he no longer hid the playful impudence in his voice. Bella flinched. I. That's, decide for yourself. And she ran away, slamming the door. A couple of minutes later he was already sitting in the hot water. His body relaxed. He closed his eyes. And, the door creaked. I decided after all. He slowly turned his head. Bella stood, covered with a towel that barely concealed her curves. Her breasts were visible. Drops of water glistened on her skin. Her hair was loose, her eyes avoided his gaze. Her cheeks were flushed. If anything happens, I'll turn away. She tried to take a step, but almost stumbled. No need. Naruto's voice was quiet but confident. He extended his hand. And she sat down. Opposite him. Their feet touched in the water. She was shaking. He was shaking too. They were silent for a long time. Then he took her hand. And just held it. Never before, she began, but he covered her lips with his finger. Don't talk. Just feel. And they just sat there. In hot water. Naked, not by their bodies, but by something more fragile. Their souls. Later she fell asleep on his chest, already under the blanket, already in the room. He kissed her on the forehead and fell asleep next to her. The next few days passed in a blur. Morning together. Breakfast together. The dungeon too. Their combination worked perfectly, Bella grew rapidly, and Naruto, finally felt the return of that very chakra. There was a little more of it. Just a little, but enough to create one clone, and blow up the boar on the 6th floor with it. Bella squealed as she saw the clone get torn apart. Was it painful? Nah, he chuckled. Just a flash. Like a soap bubble with a surprise. She laughed. And blushed again. She had been doing this more and more lately. His gaze was becoming more direct. Her movements were becoming bolder. And the air between them was becoming more, denser with each passing day. In the evening. They were lying on the bed. Together. No longer in clothes, but still without the final step. Her face was buried in his neck. He stroked her back. I thought that you would die when you protected me from that elemental. Me too, he answered calmly. But you know what? What? It wouldn't be scary to die for you. But losing you would be. Bella squeezed her eyes shut. Tears welled up. She rose, straddling his hips, and her palms fell on his chest. Don't say that. Never. Naruto looked at her. There was no embarrassment in her eyes. Only tenderness. And anxiety. And heat. His hands fell on her waist. Then hold me. And don't let go. She leaned down. Their lips met. The first really long, wet, warm kiss. With ragged breathing, with fingers squeezing, with that growing feeling that could no longer be stopped. But they stopped. He broke away first. Not today. It's not time yet. Bella nodded silently, although her eyes said, why? He brushed the hair from her face and kissed her forehead. When it's not just a wish. When it's a promise. She understood. And still she pressed herself tighter. The next morning. Naruto sat on a stone bench while Bella trained in the gym. His chakra had increased enough to create 2 clones, one of whom was currently helping her set up her stance. She's not bad, a female voice suddenly said. Naruto turned around. Ace Wallenstein stood before him. Still silent, fragile, and dangerously beautiful. Ace, he nodded. Good to see you again. I didn't come just like that. Naruto raised an eyebrow. The wind was blowing her hair. There was something strange in her eyes. She hesitated slightly. For you to train me. Now he was surprised. You're level 5. I'm only level 1. But you fight like you've been a soldier all your life. I've seen it. Anne. She looked down. You're special. A second of silence. Then Naruto stood up. Okay. Only if you explain later why you really need it. She nodded. At that moment, Bella finished her blow and turned around. She saw them. Naruto stood next to Ace. She was a little closer than usual. Bella immediately felt a prick. Small, but sharp. Are you jealous? Her inner voice asked. No. It's just, why is she with him? She answered, not believing herself. Ace looked at Bella. They exchanged glances. Words were not spoken. Women rarely needed them. Later. Naruto was showering alone. He didn't notice the door opening. Bella, he said in surprise, covering himself with a towel. Don't look like that. She turned away, blushing up to her neck. I just wanted to ask. What? Ice, do you like her? Silence. Are you jealous? It doesn't matter. Just tell me. He came closer and lifted her chin. You are my family. Ace is just an ally. She blushed. Her lips trembled. Then. I want to be even closer. She touched his chest. She ran her fingers down to his stomach. His goosebumps ran all the way down his back. Bella. Not today, she whispered. Today has already arrived. Today has already arrived. Bella's words hung in the air like breath before a kiss. Her hand was on his chest. He felt it trembling, and he didn't know if it was from excitement or desire. Naruto took a step back. She was afraid, thinking that he would refuse. But he did not refuse. He took her hand, pressed it to his lips, and led her into the room. Silent. Cozy. Theirs. In the room. The light from the lantern outside the window was dim. But it was enough to see each other. To see every tremor of the eyelashes, every shadow on the cheek. Naruto sat on the edge of the bed and looked at Bella. She was standing there in just a long shirt. The fabric was too thin to hide everything. But now, she wasn't hiding. He extended his hand to her. If you're not ready, I'll stop. Always. She stepped towards him. Into his eyes. Into his hands. Into his heart. I'm afraid, she whispered. Me too, he replied. But together, it's not scary. He hugged her. Quietly. Calmly. Without pressure. As if he was simply holding his closest soul. Then he kissed my temple. My cheek. Lower. He whispered. You're warm, you're real. Her breath grew hotter. She unclenched her fist and took off his shirt herself. Her palms explored his back, shoulders, chest. Somewhere between delight and trepidation. He slowly unbuttoned her shirt. He stopped. Are you sure? Bella nodded, blushing but unhesitating. And he pulled the fabric aside, as one opens a sacred scroll. There was her body. Pale, soft, alive. And complete trust. He laid her down on the bed. His fingers ran over her neck, her collarbones, her stomach. She sobbed quietly, not from pain, but from closeness. She began again, but he stopped her with a kiss. And I will always be the first one to hold you as a treasure. He covered her with himself. He didn't push. He didn't rush. He was just there. Palms in palms. Foreheads touching. Breathing mixing. They didn't cross the line. But they reached it. Lips touched skin. Tongue slid down her neck. Her breasts were in his hands, and she didn't hide. Their fingers found each other between their bodies. He felt her grip on his wrist, not letting him go. As if she wanted to say, stay here. With me. In this moment. They spent the night intertwined but not fused. Like two people who didn't need more proof. Not to themselves, not to each other. Only warmth. And skin. And the heart under the ribs, which for the first time beat in unison. Naruto woke up later than usual. Bella was still asleep, her lips slightly parted, her cheeks pink. He ran his fingers through her hair and resisted the urge to wake her with a kiss. He smiled like an idiot. If this is what a second life looks like, let the first one burn with a blue flame. Guild. Day. They came to hand over the crystals. Aina, as usual, met them with a pile of papers and a stern face. But as soon as she saw Bella holding Naruto's arm, her eyebrow twitched. And her gaze became suspiciously friendly. Good morning, Naruto-san. Bella, you're glowing like a torch. You look rested. Thank you. Bella looked down, almost diving into the counter. Were you, somewhere last night? Aina asked, almost squinting. Naruto chuckled. At home. At home. Together. And he put the crystals on the table. Aina almost choked. Dungeon. 7th floor. The monsters were more aggressive today. Bella fought with precision, with short steps, precise attacks, and, to Naruto's surprise, no fear. Here she is, my fox, he thought with a slight fervor. They had already passed 2 halls when they felt the earth trembling. Subtly, like the breath before a thunderstorm. Naruto, Bella was already in a stance. That wasn't a normal move. Yes. Something big. A roar came from the next room. Not a scream. A roar. Someone came out of the shadows. Or something. Bipedal. Dragon-like armor. Hands and paws with claws. Red eyes. Is this a mutated minotaur? He thought. This is a rare boss, a voice said behind him. Very, very rare. They turned around. Before them stood a goddess. Not just a goddess. She was stunning. Snow-white hair, purple eyes, a dress that clung to her body like a second skin. She smelled of desire. Sweet, viscous, and dangerous. Who are you? Naruto asked sharply. She smiled, coming closer. Very closer. My last name is Isidore. I don't need a first name. Just call me, the one who wants you. Bella stood between them. With a face no one had ever seen before. He's already busy. Isidore bowed her head. How sweet. The pup is protecting the male. Naruto grabbed Bella's hand. Now is not the time. Monster. Yes, yes. Isidore sighed. But if you survive, you are welcome to my family. Having said this, she disappeared. Simply vanished, leaving a sweet trail. The fight with the mutant monster was fast. Very fast. He darted between the columns, and each blow he struck threw them back a meter. Naruto was thrown back, the katana cracked. Bella fought with all her might, but he was twice her height. I can't handle it. Not in this condition. I have to. He closed his eyes. Kurama. I know you don't want to. But. Say it already, give me strength. Everything is like in the good old days. Give. Me. Strength. Just don't die, idiot. Naruto opened his eyes. Around the body, chakra appeared like a robe. A tail of energy swayed behind the back. The eyes flashed amber. Bella gasped. You're like that time, on the top floor. Only this is not even a tenth of it, he grinned. And he jumped. Chakra mode fight. He moved like fire. The monster's claws were torn off by the chakra. The katana, already new, just issued, became an extension of his arm. He disappeared and appeared behind the monster, striking the tendon. The monster howled, collapsing the wall. Bella jumped, plunging the dagger into its eye. Naruto was there at the same moment. Their movements were like a synchronized dance. He covered, she cut. Here she is. A couple. A family. My ninja and goddess in one person, flashed through my mind. When the monster fell, the chakra dissipated. Naruto fell to his knees. Bella ran up and hugged him. Are you okay? He was breathing heavily. Sweat was running down his forehead. But he was smiling. Have you seen yourself in battle? Fox, you're growing up. She blushed. Don't call me that. What? She leaned down. Their lips touched. This time, it was hers. A long, hot kiss, amidst the dust, blood, and ruins. I don't want every goddess I meet to throw herself at you, okay? He chuckled. Okay. You will be my chain, Bella. And I will be yours. Hestia greeted them in the evening with her eyes rolled back. I heard. Dear Naruto Lemon fans. Ishitar. I'm and thrilled you didn't to even invite all of you to my Boosty channel, Naruto, where you can enjoy exclusive Naruto Lemon scenes in a comfortable and supportive community. Did you think I'd take the community? I choose from various subscription tiers, but if you had, from mini lemon you would have to come God back lemon, later, and gain access to unique content tailored just for our fans. Actually, he's already mine. Subscribers to over Naruto Lemon and God Lemon will receive special mentions in my videos, but didn't flinch. Support my channel and dive deeper into the world of Naruto. Not for the first day. Dare. Hestia fell to her knees. Gods, give me strength. Night. Naruto lay on his back. Bella was on top of him, dozing off with me. Hestia was in the chair, curled up with a pillow and sleeping quietly. Inner world. Green meadow. High sky. Warmth. And a disgruntled roar. You've completely lost your mind, Uzumaki, came from under the tree. Naruto sat on a stump with his hands behind his head. Oh, you're awake. What are we yelling about? Kurama's huge muzzle rose from the tall grass. He looked menacing. But his ears were slightly lowered. His tail swayed sluggishly. You used Bijou chakra to impress a girl. Firstly, it was a critical situation. You could have just dodged it. Instead of putting on a Fox Show 2.0 on the 7th floor. Naruto laughed. Kurama, are you jealous? What? Me? Jealous? Of a tiny red-eyed girl with a voice like a meowing kitten? Then yes. Kurama sighed, looking away. It's just, before, when you smiled at someone like that, it was at me. Naruto narrowed his eyes and looked at the endless horizon. You will always be my first partner, Kurama. But she became the one for whom I want to live again. Right now. Without war. Without lies. Kurama looked at him silently. And don't worry, Naruto added, if she ever tells me I have something fluffy inside me, I'll say it's just you. Freak, Kurama muttered and turned away, but grinned. Real world. Morning. Naruto woke up, stretched, and realized that Bella was sleeping on his arm, as always. But now she was also holding his shirt with her teeth, as if afraid that he would run away. He stroked her back softly. She only pressed herself closer. Warm. Real. Mine, he thought. Lunch. The Loki family's training yard. Ace had been waiting for them since the morning. Bella was next to Naruto. Anxious. But with her teeth clenched. I want you to train me, Bella said. Not as a friend. As a rival. Ace nods. I accept. They started simple. Exchanging blows. Standing. Sweeps. But somewhere around the 5th minute, Naruto realized, this is no longer training. These are two girls whose hearts beat for the same person. Every attack is a blow of emotion. Every dodge is a sting of jealousy. Bella is focused as never before. Ace is cold, but burning from the inside. Hey! Naruto interjected. Can we skip the crippling flirting? Huh? Both looked at him. Both blushed slightly. You're both so, he exhaled and turned away, otherwise he would definitely lose to himself. In the evening. Near the house. Hestia was sitting on the steps, gloomily looking into space. There was a large bag nearby. Where are you going? Naruto asked. To the bathhouse. But only the women's room is free there, she glanced sideways at Bella. And I don't want to go alone. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You want, for us two? The three of us? Bella breathed out, blushing to the roots of her hair. Hestia stood up, looking at them with feigned innocence. Well, there's only one bath. The steam is shared. We'll put on underwear, of course. The water's still cloudy. Look, Naruto didn't even blush. That's because I'm already dead inside, he muttered. In the bathhouse. The three of them sat. The steam was thick. The air was dense. Naruto was in swimming trunks, waist deep in water. Hestia was opposite him, with a towel that kept slipping off. Bella was next to him. Her face was burning. The water was up to her shoulders, but what was underneath was known only to the gods. "How do you like the steam, Bella?" Hestia whispered softly, pulling herself closer. "You're so hot." I am fine," Bella stuttered, almost drowning in bubbles. Naruto looked at the ceiling. "Don't feel. Don't look. Don't breathe. Don't move. Don't." "Naruto," Bella suddenly whispered. Thank you. For everything." And she hugged him. Underwater. With her palms behind his back. With her face in his neck. And she stayed like that. Hestia puffed out her cheeks, but said nothing. She just splashed some water to the side and muttered. "Oh well. I'll make my scene later." The morning started with a note. Is passed it through to Tiona. There's a raid on the lower floors. I want you to come with us. Lafia will be there too. If you agree, I'll wait at the southern gate after lunch. P.S. Take Bella too. And Hestia. For some reason I want her to see this. Naruto read the note out loud, and Bella silently clutched the sheet. Do you think she's testing me? I think she's testing us, he replied with a slight grin. Noon. The southern gate. Ace stood there, as always, calm as a statue. Next to her was Lafia, who glared at Bella as if her breakfast and pathos had been stolen from her. I didn't know you were with him, she whispered to Bella. What's wrong with him? Bella raised an eyebrow. In the bedroom. In battle. Everywhere. The elf blurted out. Bella didn't say anything. She just took Naruto's hand. Too calmly. Wow. My girl has become a lioness, he thought, and even applauded internally. The raid began. The group moved quickly. Ace and Naruto walked in front. Lafia was next to Hestia, muttering something. Bella was a little behind, but her eyes were fixed on Naruto. He could feel it. We need to talk. Today. I don't want anyone around me to suffer, even if it's a half-jealous elf. Night. Camp. 1 fire. 3 tents. Ace's tent is separate. Lafia's is also further away. But Bella and Naruto have one. By the will of fate. Or by the calculated mischief of Hestia, who brought only 2 tents and immediately took one for herself. Well, forgive me, she purred sweetly, lying down in hers. And you there, somehow make room. The main thing is to keep warm. A little bastard, but a genius, Naruto thought, looking at her impudent grin. In the tent. Dark. Warm. Bella lies next to him, in a thin nightgown that she took instead of her usual clothes for some reason. Naruto is on his back. Perfectly still. Like during the Chunin exam. Sweat on his back. Arms at his sides. Don't breathe. Don't move. Naruto. You know that she hesitated. He turned to face her, his face a few centimeters away. What you? Love you. He blinked. And just nodded. Then he pulled her toward him, pressing her forehead to his. Me too, Bella. From the very first day, when you said yes not to words, but to me. She froze. And then, she touched his neck with her lips. Slowly. Consciously. A hand fell on his chest. Can I? He whispered. Whatever you want, he replied. Just say the word. They kissed slowly. No rush. She lay on top of him. Her hair was silk on his skin. Her thigh was on his stomach. Her fingers were in his hair. His hands were on her waist. Hot. Quiet. Sensual. The fabric shifted. The air between them was no longer cold. He slid his hand down her back, along the curve of her hip. She trembled, not from fear, but from the fact that she was finally all his. And he is all hers. There was no rush. No aggression. Just connection. Fingers. Sighs. Whispers. The word more in her voice. And the name, his name, again and again on her lips. Later. They lay pressed tightly against each other. Bella fell asleep with her face buried in his neck. He looked at the ceiling of the tent and suddenly felt something. Like a chakra outside of my body twitched. Unfamiliar. But similar to. No, it's impossible. He left the tent, quietly, so as not to wake Bella. And froze. On the stone arch opposite the camp stood a figure in a black cloak. No face visible. Only hands in sleeves. But. It's chakra, he whispered. The figure nodded. Silently. Then, disappeared. Without a sound. Without a smell. Morning. He didn't tell anyone. But when I looked into the river mirror, I saw, eyes, amber. Without activation. Kurama's chakra, as if tense. Kurama, did you feel it? Yes. This is out of this world, right? It was, a shinobi. Or something worse. The morning after that night seemed almost normal. Almost. Bella held his hand tightly, even in her sleep. Hestia pretended not to peek. Lafia didn't speak at all. And Ace. Ace stared at him for too long. As if she was searching for an answer, but didn't ask. I only spent one night with Bella. Why do people read on my faces as if I stole the sun? He looked away and pulled his sweater up. Too hot. Or was it inside? Descent into the dungeon. An anomaly was seen on the 15th floor, Ace reported. I want to check it out. Just you and me. What? Bella bit her lip. No offense. We need to move quickly. Without unnecessary noise, Ace added, not even looking Naruto's girl in the eyes. Perfect. Cold, fast, unpredictable. As always. Naruto nodded. He didn't say anything to Bella. He just squeezed her hand. Silently. But she understood everything. Floor 15. Stone gallery. They walked together. Silence. Only A's breathing was even, as if she were dancing, not walking on cracking slabs. Suddenly, a sharp jolt. Chakra vibration. Unearthly. Alien. But painfully familiar. Stop, Naruto said. Ace stopped. And then he appeared. A man in a black robe. No face. No sound. But. You are the only one left, came from somewhere behind. Of all of them. You are the only one who survived. The voice was not human. It was, distorted, as if it was going through water. Naruto stepped forward. Who are you? The last carrier. Like you. But. I haven't slept for 1,000 years. I remembered everything. And I came back, to finish you off. Ha. Congratulations. You picked a bad target, Naruto grinned. This isn't Kaminara. This is Ororio. And here I have a reason to live. You're weaker than you were. You have no army. No friends. Only, this girl. The figure turned to Ace. Ace raised her sword. He is not alone. But the stranger took a step and disappeared. Right before our eyes. Returning to camp. What happened? Bella ran to meet them, seeing their tense faces. Old shadows, Naruto said quietly. But shadows don't forget. He hugged Bella. Tighter than he intended. And in my head it was pounding. If this is true, then I'm not alone. But then it's still possible that a war will start. Night. Subconscious. Kurama. Did you recognize him? No. But, his chakra was, like the Uchihas. Only twisted. And dirty. He said he hadn't slept for 1,000 years. But then why is he younger than me? Kurama sighed. It was rare that something like this happened. Because he's not human. He's a remnant. A discarded fragment of war. He shouldn't have survived. But he did. Just like me. No, Naruto. You lived. And he rots, preserving himself in evil. Morning. Lafia. Breakdown. Lafia came to breakfast with red eyes. Not from sleep. She approached Naruto, and Bella had already stood up, feeling. I can't do it anymore, Lafia breathed out. I love you, Naruto. For a month now. I don't even understand how. But you're like light. Lafia. Naruto reached out to her, but she recoiled. No need. She lit up with magic. The air trembled. Smoke. The stone at her feet began to melt. You became my prayer, Naruto. But you will never hear it. And that hurts the most. Suddenly, Hestia's voice dropped. No, oh. Everyone turned around. Hestia was in a trance. Her eyes were glassy. They are returning. Those who knew chakra. Those who created false gods. Hestia. Bella ran up and grabbed her. Hestia exhaled and fell. But not fainted. Who spoke? I don't know. Hestia was shaking. But I saw Naruto, just not here. He was dead. He was lying on top of a mountain. And chakra was burning in the sky like blood. Naruto took a step back. Bella pressed her hand to her lips. It wasn't raining that day, but it felt like the sky was holding something heavy. Bella sat on the edge of the bed, hugging her knees. She barely moved, only exhaling quietly, as if she was afraid to disturb her balance even with her breath. Naruto stood by the window, leaning his forehead against the cool glass. Are you afraid? She whispered. Yes, he answered. She stood up and came over. She carefully placed her palm on his back, just above his waist, closer to the scar. Warm. He didn't move away. Then, give me some of the fear. To make it easier for you. He turned. Their foreheads almost touched. No smile. No words. He reached out and slowly pulled her waist closer. Bella flushed, her face turning pink almost instantly, but she didn't pull away. He rested his forehead against her neck. Just breathing. And he felt her trembling, not from fear. From something different. I'm sorry, he breathed. Don't you dare, Bella whispered. You don't apologize for that. He ran his palm down her back. From her neck to her waist. Slowly. Absorbing every curve, as if for the last time. And suddenly, his fingers felt a slight crackling. Is this chakra? Bella winced. Yes. Do you feel it? It stings. But it feels good. He lowered his hand a little lower, almost to her thigh, and moved it in a circle. Bella almost screamed, but she held back. She grabbed his shirt as if it were salvation. That's how chakra flows, he explained quietly. Inside. Along the lines. I can show you how to control it. Through touch? Through the skin. There is no other way. She nodded. He ran his finger down her bare shoulder, chakra flaring slightly, and Bella gasped. More. The voice trembled, but not from horror. He slowly hugged her, lowering his lips to her ear. I can feel you missing her, he whispered. You're perfect for this. Bella closed her eyes. Her whole body was tense, her chest was rising and falling. She couldn't speak, she just felt. And suddenly, a sharp jolt of chakra. Not hers. From the outside. Naruto straightened up abruptly. A second later he was at the door. His hand clenched into a fist. Bella, shaking, pulled up her shirt and grabbed the dagger. In the yard, Anne. Lafia. Alone. Without weapons. Without a cloak. With a face like a ghost. She's back, Ace said. But? Naruto stepped forward. She doesn't remember who you are. Lafia stared into space. Naruto showed no emotion. No anger. No pain. As if she had been erased. I found her at the entrance to the dungeon. Alone. No traces of blood. Naruto came closer. Lafia? I'm sorry, was all she said. I don't know who you are. Hestia ran in at that moment, tripped, and fell right at Lafia's feet. She looked up, and turned pale. This is not Lafia. Silence fell like ashes. This is a vessel. Bella grabbed Naruto's sleeve. He could feel her hands were icy. A vessel for whom? And then Lafia spoke. The voice was not hers. Not the intonation, not the rhythm. Why did you save this reality, Naruto Uzumaki? He froze. You are not a god. You are a mistake. You should not have survived. But you did. And now you are interfering with what should have been completed. Who are you? We are the remnants of the Great War. Phantoms of the Chakra era. We left, but we were pushed here. Why Lafia? She looked at you. Too often. Too tenderly. Now, she's empty. But if you want her back. Silence. Tight, like skin over a wound. Defeat us in what you have lost. In battle. Without chakra. Without anger. Only, the heart. Lafia was gone. Just, dissolved. And in her place, only a crumb of ice remained. Naruto squeezed it in his palm. I'll bring you back. Ace stepped forward. I'll be there too. Bella gritted her teeth. No. You will not take him away from me. Naruto turned around. Stop. They both froze. It's not a question. It's a choice. I chose. That night. He looked at Bella. And nodded. She began to cry. Not from weakness. From relief. Then, let the chakra be ours. Together. And she took his hand. And her chakra flared. Brightly. Beautifully. Like the first kiss that happened a little later. In the dark, under the stars, when the whole world froze, knowing that they would never be separated again. Ace stood in the middle of the training hall. There was only silence and dust around her. She hit the wooden pole over and over until her knuckles began to crack. Blood ran down her skin, but she didn't even blink. There was only a hum inside. As if her heart had refused to be alive, choosing instead to be a weapon. That's enough, a voice sounded behind Naruto. No, she answered shortly. Not enough. Until I erased that voice from my head. He was silent. He came closer and took her wrist. She did not resist, but did not look into his eyes. "Do you think I'm jealous?" she breathed. "No. I think you're afraid of losing to her." "Bell?" "For myself." He let go of her hand, but remained close. Ace finally looked up. Blue as a storm before the storm. "You stayed with her. Said you chose." "Yes." "Then, let me fight for you. Just once." He nodded. Not immediately. But firmly. Ace turned around and walked out. She didn't look back. When she returned to the temple, Lafia was already standing there. The same one. The one who was empty. Only now, with a blade in her hand. And there was something alien in her eyes. Something ancient. "You want to take her?" Ace said. "You'll have to go through me." Ace Wallenstein. You were always in between. Between love and cold. Between power and feeling. You were not the chosen one. But I chose it myself. And she rushed forward. The fight was clean. Almost no screaming. Only the sound of metal. Only the hum of chakra, which made the space tremble. Lafia moved faster than before. As if someone controlled her body, knew all of A's weaknesses. But A's did not retreat. The blows came one after another, without a plan, but with heart. And then, a moment. Ace slid under the lunge, hugged Lafia around the waist and whispered. "You're alive. I can feel it. Come back. He's not worthy of being the cause of your emptiness." Lafia flinched. The blade slid past her neck. "Past life. Do you remember me?" "I remember how you looked at him. How you were silent when Bella smiled. I was silent too. But now, enough." Lafia trembled. Tears came to her eyes. She sank to her knees, clutching her sword, and for the first time in a long time, she began to cry for real. Ace sat down next to her, laid her head on her shoulder, and hugged her. And at that moment, Naruto appeared. He didn't say a word. He just walked up to them and knelt down on one knee. "I need you both. Not as fighters. As people. As those who look not through, but deep inside." Lafia hugged him. Carefully. Without pretension. Just like someone who had been alone for too long. Ace looked. Then she nodded. She came closer. The three of them, in one circle. Without words. Without jealousy. And then, night fell. Naruto sat on the bed, leaning against the wall. Lafia was sleeping on his chest, breathing quietly. Ace was at his hip, resting her forehead on his leg. Bella opened the door. She saw. And she didn't scream. She didn't get angry. She just came up to him. Sat down next to him. Took his hand. "I understand," she whispered. "I can feel how much you love them. In your own way. But you are forever," he replied. She pressed herself against him. Their lips met, in the half-light, between breath and trembling. "Then, let's stay like this. Not a harem. Not debts. Just us, each one who looks into the heart." He nodded. And the chakra flared around them, soft as a blanket. And all three of them, Bella, Ace, Lafia, fell asleep in the same dream for the first time. She looked at him from the doorway. They weren't sleeping. They were lying down, all three of them, but their breathing was too ragged for it to be sleep. Ace's eyes were slightly open. Bella pressed herself against his chest, as if she wanted to be closer than skin. Lafia pressed herself against his side, no longer guilty, no longer doubtful. And she just stood there. Without shoes. Without jokes. Without a smile. You knew that I loved you, she said quietly. He sat up. Carefully, so as not to wake the others. Just looked. No need, she interrupted. You know. You always knew. You didn't come to the cafe out of politeness. Not because it was tasty. You came for me. And then, you found her. Bella. Sir came closer. Slowly, as if she was afraid to frighten her own determination. You don't even know who I am, do you? He nodded. Honestly. But I know that you are kind. Caring. And that you are. She covered his lips with her palm. Enough. He didn't have time to answer. She kissed him. It wasn't a timid kiss. It wasn't, let me. It was, take me. With a jerk, with breath in her throat, with fingers that dug into his hair. She was shaking, but not with fear. With rage. With love. With pain that she had held back for too long. He wanted to stop, but her chakra was released. The air trembled. Blue flashes flared around. Magic? No, something else. Ancient. Smoke came out of it, not scorching, but divine. Sire? Bella exhaled, rising. Don't look, Sire whispered. I didn't mean to. I really didn't mean to. But it was too late. The floor of the room cracked. The window glass shattered, as if from an internal scream. Light burst from Sir's body, not chakra, not magic, but something in between. And in that light, eyes. Not hers. Someone else's. Old. Knowing. Naruto grabbed her hands. Hey. You're here. You're Sire. She whispered, shaking. I'm not just Sire. I'm someone else. Someone who shouldn't have fallen in love. And then everything went quiet. The chakra curled into a point. The light disappeared. She fell into his arms, unconscious. Silence. Ace was silent. Bella was breathing faster than usual. Lafia kept her blade at the ready, but did not raise it. He picked up Sir. Slowly. Whatever you hide, you are still a part of my world, he said. And he carried her into a separate room. She woke up in the evening. At first, just her eyes. Then her fingers. Then, a feeling of guilt. You should have pushed me away, she said, lying under the sheet. Then you would have disappeared, he replied. I felt it. You don't even know who you saved. Maybe. But I know why. She looked away. Her cheeks were burning. Her shoulder was bare. The sheet was crumpled. He corrected her. Carefully. Respectfully. But at the same time. You were beautiful. Not because you flared up. But because you finally stopped hiding. Sir watched his back as he walked away. And for the first time ever, I thought, maybe she's not just second. Maybe, she's more than she seems. He felt her footsteps before they sounded. Not by sound, but by air. He stood on the edge of the balcony, looking at the walls of Iju, illuminated by lanterns, and did not turn around. You came, he said. Sir was silent. For a few seconds. Then she came closer, so that only one breath remained between them. You can sense chakra, right? She asked quietly. He nodded. Especially one that's out of this world. She smiled, but her look was bitter. I'm not human, Naruto. Not even a half. Not even a goddess. I'm a mistake. Someone who shouldn't have fallen in love. He looked at her. Directly. Too directly. She looked away. Once. I wasn't Sire. My name was Hestia. He said nothing. She continued. Not the Hestia you know. I am the forgotten one. Before her. One of those who couldn't handle the role. I disappeared, like a name being erased from a nameplate. But, for some reason, I woke up. Woke up in the body of a girl no one remembered. And she became Sire, he said. Yes. Sire is not a pseudonym. It is, a chance. My weakness. My freedom. He came closer. He took her hand. You could have not told me. You could have left it as it was. I could have. She looked him in the eye. But then I would have been lying to more than just you. To myself. He nodded. And then she said. Tonight, someone who remembers me will come. One of the first. Someone who knows my real name and wants to bring me back. Against your will? No. He will ask. And if I say, yes, I will leave. I will become who I was. And if you say, no? She paused. Then there will be a war. Because he won't accept refusal. The night smelled of iron. And old stars. They were standing on the roof, Sir, Naruto, and Ace. The rest were inside, not knowing what was coming. The wind rushed off the tower, and with it, he appeared. Tall. In black and white armor. No face, only a mask with flames carved into it. Echidna, he said. Come back. You don't belong in this reality. Not in this body, not in this man. Naruto stepped forward. Her name is Sir. And she's with us. And you are not from here. And you should not have interfered. But you disrupted everything. Kurama's chakra wavered in the air. I'm not interfering. I'm protecting. Protecting? The stranger's voice turned cold. Then die like a hero. Too kind to be a monster. Too strong to be immortal. And he attacked. They fought without words. Techniques, not chakra or magic. Something third. Clumps of light. Time reversals. Parallel strikes. Naruto got hit in the shoulder. In the side. In the chest. But he stood. Ace darted, deflected the blade, ignited her sword. Sir remained, in the middle. Between the past and the present. Between who she was and who she wanted to be. Name yourself, he shouted. And I will go away. Name yourself, and you will forget everything. Name yourself, and this man will disappear. She closed her eyes. My name is. Pause. Breathing. Heartbeat. Sire. Only Sire. And everything burst into flames. The light exploded. The masked man flew back, as if thrown back by a force he had not expected. You refused, he whispered. You really became human. She nodded. Not just a person. Loving. Beloved. He disappeared into the wind. Only a whisper remained. Then, they will come for you. Naruto sat down on the roof, breathing heavily. Sir sat down next to him. He held her wrist, her pulse was alive. I didn't know you carried so much inside you. Me too, she breathed. But you know. She lay down on him, her cheek on his chest. I'd do it all over again. Even if I had to live it all over again. He hugged her. Tightly. With body. With warmth. And said nothing. Because at such moments words are superfluous. ChatGPT said. The night was warm. Not from the weather, but from something in the air. As if Izu herself were holding her breath, afraid to disturb that silence in which people tell each other the truth for the first time. Naruto was sitting by the window. Shirtless. Just light pants, his thighs half covered by a blanket. His body was like a fire, quieted after the battle, but still warm, still breathing. The door opened without knocking. It was her. Bella. No armor. Just a thin night tunic, long, almost to the knees, but with a slit on the side. No belt. Hair loose. Cheeks, embarrassed, but the look, honest. "Aren't you sleeping?" she whispered. He turned, slowly, and his eyes were not those of a warrior. They were those of a man who had been waiting. Only for her. "No," he replied. "I was waiting for you." She came up. Sat down next to me. Silently. Her knees almost touched. Then they did. She didn't move away. "Sir." "Ace." Bella began, but he raised his hand and gently stopped her. "They are not you." Silence. "You are the one I go to, even when I don't know where or why. You are my home. Even in a world where I am a stranger." She was shaking. But not from the cold. She took a step. One. And she was already on his lap. Then, "Stay," she whispered. "Just tonight. Just here. Not as a hero. Not as a shinobi." He ran his hand down her waist. She pressed herself closer. Their breaths intertwined. His fingers trembled, not from fear, but from how many years, how many lives they had been alone. "Like a man?" he clarified. She blushed. Deeply, truly. But she didn't look away. "Like mine." He kissed her. Softly. Carefully. Then harder. Her hands went to his neck. His palms slid under the fabric. A subtle, almost weightless touch that explodes the heart. She breathed into his lips. I don't know what to do." He smiled, not looking away. "Then just, be with me." They sank down onto the bed. Slowly. Everything happened as if in the rhythm of breathing. Not in the tempo of passion, but in the tempo of trust. He kissed her shoulders. Whispered that she was beautiful. That she didn't need to be compared. That he had chosen her, himself, consciously, in this world where no one is obliged to be with anyone. She strokes his chest. Carefully. As if she's afraid to ruin this moment. "I'm not perfect," she whispered. "I'm just. You are the one I hugged. And who did not push away." She pressed herself. Tightly. And he didn't hurry. He just held her. And the world disappeared. Then Chap went. It will only be in Busty. They didn't sleep until dawn. Or rather, they slept in turns. In between kisses, in between whispers, in between moments when she lay on him and he stroked her hair. No rush. No scenes. Just them. When the sun rose, Bella was already fast asleep, in his arms, with his fingers on her waist. And Naruto looked at the ceiling. And smiled. For the first time in a very long time, he did not think about tomorrow. He was already here. In this body. In this house. In these arms. And he was happy. The guild square was bustling as usual. No one noticed that two people were standing too close, and the third was watching from the shadows. Seer clutched the bread basket so tightly her knuckles were white. She couldn't take her eyes off them. Off her. Off Bella. Off him. Off Naruto. He laughed. Bella responded with an embarrassed smile. Then she pressed her shoulder against him. Even if it was accidental, it didn't matter. What was important was that he didn't move away. Sir turned away. Too quickly. Too late. Ace watched differently. Calmly. Restrained. But somewhere inside, it trembled. Everything was wrong. Not according to the script. She was used to seeing Bella shy, dependent, clinging to others. And now, Bella spoke evenly. Confidently. Even her gaze was direct, without the usual pleading. Something has changed between them, Ace said quietly. They slept together, sounded almost in the ear. Ace turned around. It was Ryu. It was rare for the cold barmaid to intervene, but now her voice sounded tired. Are you sure? Ace asked, already knowing the answer. I lived with Sir in the same room. Do you think I don't notice when my heart is cracking? Sir sat in silence. By the window. Night. The light from the lantern cut through the glass. On her knees was an open book, in which she had not read a word. It's stupid, she whispered. I knew it. I felt it. From the first moment he looked at her. In the morning she came. Not to the cafe. Not to the dungeon. But to Naruto's room. He was alone. Tired, but cheerful. After training. In one shirt, half unbuttoned. Sire? He was surprised. I'm sorry, she said quietly. Can you listen? He nodded. She entered. I wanted you to choose me, she said. Not because I'm sire. But because I try to be better. Every night. But it looks like you've already made your choice. Naruto didn't say anything. He just looked. I'm not asking you to change your mind, she continued, trying not to shake. Just, please, don't forget. I wasn't playing. I wasn't manipulating. It was all real. He stood up. Came over. Put his hand on her shoulder. I know. After she left, Naruto stood by the door for a long time. Bella came out from behind the curtain. It turns out she was inside. You didn't stop her, she said. She didn't ask. Bella came up. Stood in front of him. Looked into his eyes. What if I, too, just left? He hugged her. I would come back for you. Always. Ace was looking at the sword at that time. For a long time. Silently. She remembered Naruto once saying. You are strong, but you are afraid to be yourself. Not as a warrior, but as a woman. And only now I realized how right he was. The next night was hotter. And not only because of the weather. Bella lay on top of him. He stroked her back, from the small of her back to her neck, kisses scattered along her collarbones. She was no longer embarrassed to moan. She asked. With words. With touches. I don't want you to be a stranger when you sleep next to me, she whispered. I want you to be mine. All of mine. I am, he answered. Without a trace. Sir didn't come to the cafe the next day. Rue didn't ask any questions. She just left an apple and a note at her door. If you want to forget, this is not the way out. If you want to become yourself, I am here. Ace? Ace smiled for the first time. Just like that. When she saw Bella, out of breath, running out of the training arena, and straight into Naruto's arms. She smiled. Because, maybe it wasn't her story. But she had learned to feel, too. This isn't a dungeon, Naruto said. This is something else. It's like it was rewritten. The path they were walking on disappeared under their feet. The walls seemed alive, pulsating, not with stone, but with something like nerves. It didn't smell like earth. It smelled like emptiness. Cold, dry, like a sheet of parchment on which someone had once written the end of the world. I don't feel the wind, Bella whispered, squeezing his hand. No magic, no mana. Just, you. Hey, he turned around, leaning closer. Is that enough? She pressed her forehead against his. More than enough. What came out to meet them was not a monster. It was not a god. It was not even alive, it was a will, stuck between worlds. Like a virus in a system. Like a bug in the code. Uzumaki, said the voice. It wasn't a sound, it was forming within. You brought not only yourself into this world, but also chaos. Shouldn't you be erased? Naruto chuckled. We tried. It didn't work. Then, you will die here. And take her with you. The voice moved forward. The shape was neither a man nor a monster, but an outline, a flash, like the imprint of lightning in the darkness. Bella, don't interfere, Naruto said sharply. Like hell, she replied. I don't just love you. I live with you. So if you fight, I fight. He didn't argue. The first blow cut through reality. Not air, but reality. Naruto caught it with the Rikudo shield, summoned by Kurama's chakra. Kurama, don't slow down. Are you nuts? I've actually been resting for 3 chapters in a row. Then wake up. We need you, all of you. Naruto merged with the Nine-Tails robe. His eyes glowed amber, his hair stood up slightly, his body trembled, not from fear, but from overwhelm. Divine chakra, Bella breathed. You. No, not a god, he chuckled. Just a man who won't let anyone touch what he loves. The enemy was fast. Faster than Ace. Faster than the entire guild council. He didn't use magic, he changed the world. Redefined the laws. But one thing defied correspondence. Their connection. Bella summoned her blade, it trembled in her hand, but her pulse was steady. I'm coming for you, she said. No, he said. Together. When it was all over, it was quiet. No ruins. No final explosion. Only light. Soft. Alive. You know, she whispered, lying next to him, hugging him under the blanket already in their room, the moment you said, together. I believed that we would really win. Not because you were stronger than everyone else. But because I was with you. He touched her cheeks. And I survived because you are the meaning. They didn't talk anymore. Talking was superfluous. He kissed her, softly but with the passion of a man who knows he can wake up tomorrow for the first time without fear. She pressed closer. Her fingers slid under his shirt. Her lips to his neck. He froze when she whispered. I don't want to be a heroine. I don't want to be Bella. Just, mine for you. He answered without words. Did you wake up before the sun? Her voice was still hoarse from sleep, but there was already morning in it. Real. Alive. He lay on his back, looking at the ceiling, smiling as if it wasn't just the room, but the entire universe that had finally stopped spinning too fast. I woke up when you sighed. He turned his head. And then I realized, I'm not on guard anymore. I'm home. Bella reached out to him, burying her face in his neck. You know, she whispered, you were always home. Even when you were running around the dungeons like a madman. Even when you were fighting with Freya. Even when you didn't know how to kiss me right. He chuckled. I'm still not sure if it's right. She covered his lips with hers. The city recovered quickly. The monsters were gone. The dungeon slept. Freya left without a fight, too proudly, like a goddess, to admit defeat, but also smart enough not to destroy what had become the new balance. The guild worked. People laughed again. And only in the corner of the street, near the shop where pies were once sold, sat an old cat, who looked at the sky a little longer than necessary. Naruto no longer wore a cloak. He wore a simple dark shirt, with the sleeves rolled up, and a belt slung diagonally over his shoulder. He no longer had a god or a beast with him. Only himself. He didn't become a captain. He didn't become a symbol. He became someone who could stop in the middle of the road at any moment, look at Bella and say, "Let's go home." And she understood that this was not just a route. This was an invitation to life. Sir left. On her own. No goodbyes, no drama. She left a note. "I need to learn not to be a shadow. I'm not looking for forgiveness. I just want to come visit someday, as a human being." Naruto read it and grinned. "You're already our man anyway, silly." Ace watched them from the roof. Once. Then she simply left. With her sword, but without the heaviness in her shoulders. She smiled at someone on the street. For the first time in years. Naruto and Bella lived in a house on the edge of town, where the morning sun hit the windows before anyone else. They had no guards. No admirers. Just a cherry orchard. A cat they called Kurama, simply because he was ginger and growled. And 2 wooden chairs under a canopy where they would watch the sunrises. "It's strange," Bella said one day. "When I dreamed of the future, I didn't know it would be so simple." Naruto nodded. "And I always knew that simplicity was the hardest thing. But now it's easy for me." He hugged her. Tightly. Softly. Like a man who was no longer afraid of losing anything. "You're not a hero anymore," she whispered. "You're just mine. And I will. As long as you call me home." By the end of summer, the lilacs in the garden were blooming. The cat was getting fat. Bella was laughing more often. And Naruto was starting to keep a diary. In case someone ever asked, "How did you win in this world?" he would answer, "I didn't win. I just stayed. For her." And that's the end of it. Far away from the magical world, George Williams, formerly known as Voldemort, with having no magic with the potion turning him into a normal boy, was living a life he never could have imagined. At 12 years old now, he was a happy muggle boy with keeping the memory of his dark past out of his head with him not wanting to remember his old life. His loving adoptive parents had given him a stable, nurturing home where he thrived. He walked to school each morning with his best friends, laughing and joking, his days filled with the simple joys of childhood. At home, his 6-year-old little brother idolized him, and George took his role as a big brother seriously, guiding and protecting him with care and affection. For him, the world of wands and dark magic was nothing more than a distant, forgotten shadow, that he was fine with forgetting ever existed.